show. Thank you very much for being here. I know that you're all in here actually, not for me, but rather for Teegan Bartos, who is amazingly well at what she does. Teegan, hello, how are you doing?
Hi, Mark. Good morning. I've got my cough drops and my tea. You gotta love the spring.
Okay, and we're going live on LinkedIn right now. Great. Great. We are live on LinkedIn. Okay, this is great. Tegan, thank you very much for being here once again, and I really, really appreciate it. I have to admit, I've been looking forward to this meeting, and I initially thought we would have it actually with Berbil Vetting Camp of Claruna, but finally she apologized because actually we haven't communicated correctly, actually, what will be when and how, and unfortunately, she has something else at the same time. So she apologizes not to be able to attend today,
No worries. We
but
can both
I
pour it down. We'll catch her next
I'm
time.
absolutely sure. I'm absolutely sure you can. You're great. You're amazing. Okay, so I've been reading about you, Tigan, and I'm really, really very impressed with everything you have achieved so far and everything that you are doing right now. And I would like to start actually with this classical question that I ask to all of the people who come to the show. Please tell us about Tegan, the person. Please don't talk about work. Talk about yourself, any potential spouse, kids, life, family, dogs, horses, whatever you wish. But tell us about yourself as a person, please.
Yeah. I don't get this question asked very often because I'm in the career space and people don't care about you personally. People care about what you can do for them professionally.
Exactly. We do. We do.
you know, my background, I grew up in the south suburbs of Chicago, a low middle income community that was faced with quite a bit of poverty, quite a bit of substance abuse, mental health challenges, lots of generational cycles. And I had a very loving mother and was very fortunate being neurodivergent. I have a speech impediment, a memory deficit, and I'm dyslexic. So I was very fortunate to have someone advocating for me so I didn't get lost in the shuffle of what a lot of other people do. Um, so I hated school growing up because it was just hard, but I loved college. And I thought I was going to work in the juvenile justice system and help other people who come from communities like mine with situations like mine who just end up getting locked up instead of getting the proper help that they need from either coming from dysfunctional families or having challenges. And my job was rescinded right before I was supposed to start. And so things kind of changed for me and it put things into perspective. I I've always grown up with Bouviers. They are a French herding dog. I don't know if I have any pictures right here. Um,
Hmm.
but I was eventually hit by a semi truck, and my dog became my therapy dog because I got vertigo attacks. If anybody's connected with me in the past couple of years, that has been on my to do list, that has been on my vision board get a puppy. I'm happy to announce that I finally have a puppy. I don't have horses, Mark. You brought that up, but
Hmm.
my mother is in the horse industry, in the Arabian horse industry. After all these
Wow.
years of being a makeup artist and selling shoes, she's in an industry that she loves, which I'm so happy about. I am married with two kids, a 7-year old and an 18-month-old. One of them has
Bless
red
them.
curly hair like me. The youngest one does. And yeah, I live just outside of Chicago now. So those are some fun facts about me.
That's great. Thank you very much for this introduction. I'm absolutely sure that a lot of people actually start relating to what you're saying. Okay, my first question, and definitely it would be career branding because you are the career queen, right? If you could If you could create a professional mantra for every job seeker, what would it be?
Good people know good people.
Hmm.
That's my tagline. I
Elaborate,
always
please.
tell people good people know good people because
Hmm.
careers are built off of relationships. If you have a boss that doesn't advocate and sponsor you or mentor you, that's not a good position to be in. But if you have a boss
Hmm.
that pours into you, mentors you, says your name in rooms where opportunities are being talked about, your career is going to have a different experience. If you get along with your coworkers, when a coworker leaves and there's a position open at their new company and they say, "Oh, I've got the perfect person." they're going to think of you. Opportunities happen in our world, not in a silo. They happen because people like you, people trust you, and people want to be around you and work with you. And so my mantra for careers is good people knows good people.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you very much for sharing. I think this is really an amazing start. We're really starting very, very well. Okay, let's talk about the LinkedIn magic and where LinkedIn actually has arrived today. In your opinion, over those years that you've been on LinkedIn, what's the most surprising way you've seen someone use LinkedIn to land their dream role?
So LinkedIn started off as more of like a digital resume when I first joined in the early
Correct.
2000s. And now it's
Correct.
evolved into more of a social platform. And
Exactly.
and and careers have evolved as well. So I personally work primarily with senior level leaders and executives. However, this advice holds true for anybody, individual contributor, middle management, that you have a story and you have something to say.
Hmm.
And LinkedIn gives you the professional platform to share that, to share your thought leadership, to share your journey, to share what you're learning, to share advice, to share interesting findings. Um, and the more you make yourself visible, the more you put yourself out there, the easier it is to find you. And so, what I really love about LinkedIn is, at JYC Recruiting, I don't post. I very rarely post roles, and neither does my team, because it's easier for us to find the perfect person for the role we have than opening the floodgates to just anybody applying. It's so time consuming to filter out all these people who aren't qualified or don't have exactly what we're looking for. And that happens a lot. So, so even if you're not at the executive level where the roles are more gate kept, even if you're at the individual contributor where the role is being posted over and over and over again because people need that talent, on LinkedIn's algorithm works based on keywords, which is like your
Yes.
job title, your location, your degrees, your certifications, the skills itself that you put in there. Then it's based on connections. Well, somebody who has a first degree connection is more likely to be shown in your feed or in your searches than somebody who's a third degree connection, where you don't even have a mutual connection. And then engagement is the third piece of LinkedIn's algorithm. So, how active are you on the platform? I look at people's profiles all the time and I can't tell if they're retired or not. What is the chance of me being able to reach out to you? Is it going to be a waste of time, or should I engage with you? Because when you're thinking about it as a job seeker, how are the people finding talent? So if you want to find your dream job, make yourself findable, because that's how people find you. And then on the flip side of it, right? So that's more of personal branding. But on the flip side of it, people find jobs every day by applying online. And LinkedIn is a great platform to do research, especially if you invest in LinkedIn Premium. You get extra insights into companies' pages. So when you go on a company's LinkedIn page, you can see insights as to their hiring trends. Does this company do more hiring in the summer, in the winter? You can see those trends. Who have they hired recently? What jobs are they currently have posted? And who in their company are active LinkedIn members? You can go on a company page and there's literally a tab that says insights, or com- company culture, one of the tabs. You can click on them,
Yes.
and
Yes.
people who post, people who are employed at that company and talking about that company, it features them. And so that's an easy way to start engaging with people who are talking about their company, who are hiring from that company. Because you don't want to just end up anywhere. A dream job isn't any job. A dream job is a job that you
Yes.
love, a job that has a
Yes.
culture that aligns with your values, a mission, product, or service that aligns with how you want to
Yes.
contribute to the world, and of course,
Yes.
compensation that pays you a fair wage for the value that you're contributing to the organization. So I think LinkedIn is good for both having a reactive job search, like actively looking for open roles and doing the proper research, and having a proactive job search strategy of making yourself findable.
That's absolutely amazing. Thank you very much for this. And I want to just relate to what you mentioned. I recently did a research about actually alumni of a school, and really, really, it surprised me that actually more than half of those people, more than half of those graduates actually were not making use of their LinkedIn profile. So their LinkedIn profile mostly was very basic, very elementary. Like, for example, half of them don't even have a tagline, like a line under their profile, under their name. And a lot of them have maybe entered the languages they master because it's maybe a very easy click on fill, but rarely you would say that they have real good connections, real good profiles with real good summaries that really tell their story and what they are looking for. And when I had a discussion with some of the partners around in that school and outside that school, I was even more surprised to hear that, Mark, actually, very often in our culture, when somebody starts working on their LinkedIn profile, it means that they want to leave their job. So it's a very bad sign for their current employer. Is that something you have experienced?
All the time. But there's been a shift in the mindset, especially post COVID,
Mm-hmm.
because it's LinkedIn has becoming more and more social. It is a social media platform. And so, yes, there are red flags that some companies say, oh my gosh, they're doing something on LinkedIn. They must be getting ready to leave. And when I'm
Yes.
working with clients, job seeker clients, who know that they have managers who are looking at those things, what I recommend is that on the banner photo that they create, they have their company logo and something about their company there. On their featured section, they have things about their company that at least one thing tagged that they're proud of, because you can kind of have like three up there before you have to click more. And to balance the content out, about content about what you're currently doing at your company with other things that are happening in the industry, and starting, if you're more so promoting your company, you're also promoting you, how you've contributed to your company, how your values align. It still speaks about you. And one of the ways to kind of get around it, which my clients have found very successful, is write people you enjoy working with a review. Um, at I go to church, and one of the things that our pastor had us do was write recommendations for other people in the community. And it was just a way to give back. Instead of buying someone their coffee in the line behind you, write them a review. And so I've even worked with people who are in positions of leadership and said, hey, this isn't mandatory. However, we're currently hiring. Please share this post that we're hiring. We would love it if you could refer other people. Or um, performance reviews aren't around the corner, but I want to give a special shout out to someone. I've got a client who gives flowers every Friday to someone on her team, someone in her company, one of her vendors. And every Friday, it's Flowers Friday. And she writes a review about somebody that she's come in contact with, and people love it. So, yes, some people are of the mindset that if someone's doing something on LinkedIn, it's because they want to leave. And that could very well be true. But whether they're active on LinkedIn or not, they're still looking. So, at least as they're saying positive things about your company, it reduces the company's risk. And in the next company that you start, I highly recommend that you don't just ghost LinkedIn. You still stay somewhat active. So that way, it's just no, they've always been active on LinkedIn. A lot of my clients have kids in college, and they have projects to do where they have to create a LinkedIn profile. And um, saying, hey, my kid has to create a LinkedIn profile for college and, has to send out connection requests. Is it okay if, they connect with you as peers? Oh my gosh, like all these different rules on LinkedIn have changed. I updated my profile because my kid had this project to do. There's so many different things that you can say. Or I'm getting ready to go to a conference. I had to update my LinkedIn profile. Or I'm applying to join the industry's professional association and they require a LinkedIn URL. I needed to update my LinkedIn profile. Would you be open to giving me a recommendation on my profile to elevate the quality of my profile? There's so many things that you can do to openly talk about it and it being true, so that way people are less worried about you leaving.
Yes, yes, I 100% agree. I would like to come back on what you mentioned by saying two things. First of all, about employees in a company improving their LinkedIn. I personally, at the Swiss Quality, have always encouraged this because I believe those are our investors on LinkedIn. And very often, when people consider eventually joining us, they do tell us in the interview that I contacted X or Y in your company and they said you are really good. They said that you are friendly. They said that the work environment is very good, very positive, and this is why I'm applying. So that's proof to me that actually our colleagues are our investors on LinkedIn and they must appear in good looking. So I would definitely invest in helping my colleagues actually improve their LinkedIn profiles. And
A
then one
hundred
more thing, and I
percent.
would like to have, please do react to this if you wish.
Yeah, no, absolutely, 100%. Anybody who's in a position to hire someone should have a strong
Mhm.
LinkedIn profile. Your potential new employee is going to be vetting you as much as you are vetting them. Anybody who's in
Yes,
a sales role should have a nice LinkedIn profile because you should be connecting with your vendors, your clients, your stakeholders, and above and beyond whatever CRM that you're using internally. Because again, people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And so there's different ways to attract talent, there's different ways to attract clients. And part of it is having a professional brand and persona and profile that makes you proud of what you're putting out there professionally. And you want to be able to control that narrative, because if you don't, somebody else will.
absolutely. And on top of that, if I may, I'd say, especially for a school whose mission is to help its students actually to be prepared to the market and then to succeed, because it's their honor then later on to say, look what our students have achieved. Then it is definitely, and I would say, especially this for a significant, a very well known, and a very well respected school. I would say it's very, very important that they actually encourage their students to have the best possible profile because this definitely impacts later on how well they have made it. What do you think?
Absolutely. And on the job seeker side, or
Yes.
even if you're just a professional trying to network, going back to your school and seeing who else has graduated. It doesn't matter if you graduated 20 years ago, 40 years ago, 3 years ago. Connect with other people. Oh, I also went to whatever school, and it's an automatic easy way to network with them.
Of course, of course, of course, absolutely. I 100% agree with you. I can clearly see that you are absolutely well into the LinkedIn actually algorithm and how it works, and you have been using this. And I'm sure that I can see clearly, as a lot of people can see clearly, how you've been successful actually with this. Let me ask you, please, about the hidden job market. There are backdoors to the job market. Like, for example, those thousands and thousands of jobs that never get published. As you mentioned earlier, we know someone who knows someone, and we say, oh, please do feel free to recommend a friend. What is the coolest backdoor job opportunity you've ever helped someone discover?
um, it's a big part of my strategy with my clients and my recruitment firm,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because early on in my career, for about the first decade, I worked with the Department of Labor, which is
Mm-hmm.
um, in the US a government agency that helps the workforce. And so at the time, I worked with individuals from Sears who was failing as a company because they didn't modernize in their technology and in their marketing. then I had to help these technology leaders and these marketing leaders find jobs. I One of my big clients was Motorola. When Motorola wasn't keeping up with the technology, I was having to help these technology leaders find new roles, and they have to explain, well, why wasn't your company successful? Why weren't you modernizing? Well, and they didn't always have
Hmm.
control over that. And so I have found that the hidden job market actually isn't hidden. It's available to everyone. It's just that certain roles aren't posted. So I think probably one of the funnest roles. Well, I can give you two examples. I'll give you my mom with the horses. My mom was a college dropout. She had my older sister. She became a car salesperson, but couldn't look at herself because of how they would take advantage of people in car sales at the time. So she became a makeup artist at the beauty counter in the mall, and eventually she got a job in the shoe department, and eventually she got a job with a shoe company, and she traveled all over the world selling shoes to big box retailers and boutiques and whatnot. And during the pandemic, she lost her job. And so she decided to move to Arizona, and she started volunteering at a horse farm to help get horses ready to be therapy horses. And she ended up getting into the horse business, something that was always a hobby, always a passion of her. And after 3 decades worth of lugging, 75-pound bags of shoes and big shelves around for the trade shows and whatnot, her shoulders had started giving out. So this is a perfect job. She's still in sales, she's still in marketing, she's still in people facing roles, but she loved it. And she found the job by volunteering, by doing something that she loved. So she is probably my favorite story because, of course, I want my mom to be happy. There is no better feeling than feeling like your whole world is put together. Because
Yes.
if you don't have a job that you like, let alone a job that you love, it makes everything else in your life so much harder. If you don't have the financial
Yes.
stability, if you don't have this schedule, if you don't, it just
Yes.
makes the rest of life harder. And then
Yes.
um, somebody else that is a really fun story that I have. When I was working in the government, I have a client. I'm not going to disclose her name because I don't have permission to, but she was in marketing, and she was so much fun. She could have retired. She was past legal retirement age, but she didn't want to
Hmm.
stop working. She loved to work, and she felt like she was facing a lot of age discrimination. At the time, I was running AARP's Back to Work 50 Plus program, and
Hmm.
for the Chicagoland area. And she was one of my clients in that program. And she had applied to hundreds of jobs, thousands of jobs. And we worked on her resume, and we worked on her LinkedIn profile, and we were practicing interview prep. Um, and there's a church nearby. It's a mega church, and they host job fairs. And I had suggested she attend the job fair, and just chat and talk and whatnot. And she ended up getting a marketing job through that church by attending that job fair. So even though she was actively looking, she was actively applying, attending an event where she was just her bubbly, loving self, talking to people about what she had done, what she wants to do. She just happened to be talking to the pastor, and he was like, "You would be perfect for what we have. You've been able to manage all these different verticals in manufacturing in the past, all these different entities. You had to keep all these different products separate." And then it was, "Well, are you Christian?" And she was like, "No, I'm not. I'm non-denominational." And he was like, "Well, we'll have to vote on that." And they ended up voting on it, and she put it together a case and whatnot, but she ended up getting the job, and she's still there. And that was over 15 years ago, and she gets to do so much for the community. She
Yes.
runs their college scholarships, their mission trips, all their fundraisers, just the car program. She gets to do so many amazing things for the community.
Yes.
And she gets to love what she does. And it wasn't a posted job. It wasn't a job that they were actively recruiting for. So it happens all of the time. Right now, I am
Yes.
recruiting for a CFO and a regional
Hmm.
controller, and the job isn't posted anywhere. I'm in conversations with people who have profiles and
Hmm.
backgrounds that look exactly my client what my client needs, and it's not posted. And I get to, as a recruiter, I get to talk to these candidates and see if it's a win-win opportunity. And so I think
Yes.
that the neat thing about the hidden job market, which is really just opportunities that evolve before being um, finalized, is that
Yes.
you really get to make sure it's a good fit versus hoping that the right person or the right opportunity comes along.
Absolutely amazing. Please keep telling us stories. We love those. Please
Oh
keep telling us stories.
man, I could go
Okay.
all day.
This
I
was a
I
great
love
one.
this stuff. I could nerd out all day, Mark.
We could sit then. Okay. Great. I would come back later actually about the job search strategy that you started actually to talk about. I do have a question or two about this later, but for now, I'd like to move to the career transition theme. So,
Okay.
what is the one thing you wish everyone knew about writing a resume that no one ever tells them?
I think it's really important to understand that while your resume is about what you have done and what you accomplished, your resume is not for you. It is for the companies you are trying to attract. It is a marketing
Yes,
document. It is
it is.
not a journal. It is not a personal tracker of success. It is an outward facing marketing collateral. It should be factual. I'm not suggesting
Yes.
marketing is in you lie. I'm saying that it
No.
should be branded to attract your target opportunities. And your target opportunities have problems that you can solve, have missions that you're aligned with, have products or services that you feel contribute to the world in a way that you want to contribute to. And so when people have objective statements on their resume, nobody cares what you want. I want to find a fast-paced role where I can be challenged. No, nobody cares about that. They want to know
Yes.
what you can do for them. Um,
Yes.
and I see thousands of resumes, and even at the executive level, and accomplishments alone aren't enough. The context has to be there. So, like, what's the difference between you deciding to buy one shoe or another shoe? Well, one shoe company probably appeals to your lifestyle and to your nature and to your vibe, to your personality, where the other shoe doesn't
Yes.
necessarily. And so you want to make sure that when you're crafting your resume, you're not just listing President's Club and award winner and broke this record. You have to give some type of context to it, because while results are important and that's what everybody talks about, you need to have results on your resume, not just duties. Well, above and beyond your results, you also need to have the context, because that is really what differentiates yourself in a saturated market. 2025 is a saturated market. 2024 was a saturated market. If
Yes.
you're job searching right now, you've got to show not only that you're good at what you do, and that you would be good at doing whatever it is that this future company needs, but also how you did it. Because how you do it separates yourself from all the other high achievers out there.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much for sharing those tips. I personally can say I can relate to what you're saying. This is exactly what I have seen working and not working in our HR department. And what you're talking about is real. We see a lot of people apply, and indeed, exactly as you alluded, their CV is mostly something, some kind of a track record for them about how great they are. And like, thank you very much. Maybe try to show us how good you will be at our job in our company. because I mean, this becomes absolutely important for people who are going through a career transition, like they are applying for something that's different from what they have done in the past. And all the recipe is about what they have done very well in the past in their previous career, which is not related to what they want to do at our company. I
Yeah, you got to
100%
paint
agree
that
with you.
picture for people because people aren't going to assume or people aren't going to hunt for the synergy. You have to lay that out on why it makes sense. You know, how did my mom go from selling shoes to working with horses? You've got to make it make sense.
Yes,
Otherwise, people are going to say, nope, they're not qualified. When really that's not true. Your transferable skills are valuable, but you have to prove it. It's the burden is on you to prove it, not them to figure it out.
absolutely. Absolutely. I might maybe choose a different word if I'm talking to career to applicants to work with us. I would not say it's up to you to prove it, but I would say it's up to you to show us that actually your skills do prepare you to excel and succeed in our role at our company, in our culture.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for sharing that. It's a wonderful story. Okay, I would like to go back about job search strategies, as I said earlier, and I would like to ask you, what is the most unconventional advice you've given a client that actually ended up working brilliantly?
Um, I don't think that the same strategy works for every single person. Different things work in
Hmm.
different industries at different professional levels. And so I encourage people to have a diversified job search strategy. So there isn't one golden ticket that's going to work for everyone. I encourage people to thoughtfully apply to jobs. I don't believe that you just shouldn't apply to anything. If you see a job that you think you would enjoy at a company you would enjoy working for and everything lines up, go ahead and apply to it. I also think that reconnecting with former colleagues and vendors and stakeholders is a great way to get yourself out there to position yourself
Yes,
and let people know that you're interested in opportunities. I think that working
yes,
with recruiters is a great way to find alignment. I ask every single person that I'm pipelining, which basically means just like having a conversation about what they might be interested down the road, not of the specific role that I'm looking for right now. I ask every single person, you know, take this role that I have in mind off the table. What does the next step look like for you? I want to know what drives people, what people are actually interested in. And so I think working with recruiters and they may not have something right away, but when they come back to you, it might be a decade later or 3 years later. If they come back to you with the perfect type of opportunity for what you're looking for, I mean, it's a
yes.
win-win. And so I don't have a golden ticket, but I do think having a diversified strategy where you're focusing on what you're going to get the highest ROI for is ideal. I have a client who's interviewed 32 times in 2024 and not a single
Wow.
role really aligned with what he's looking for. And so he
Mm.
decided to open up his own company, and the first product that he sold was actually to his former company for over $1 million. And so, what works for one person isn't going to be the right path for the next person. And so, I guess the best advice that I could give, because I don't have a golden ticket, it's you're going to hear all kinds of job search advice. It's not all for you. Use your best judgment to decide what works for you, what works in your industry, what feels in alignment with your values. There's some career coaches that are going to say it's a numbers game. Put out as many applications as you can. Use AI to spam job boards. And if that works for you, great. Do it. You're not going to hear that advice from me. So I don't really have an answer for that question that anybody's going to want to hear. I don't think that there's a golden ticket. I think that the most strategic approach is having a diversified job search strategy.
Okay, great,
But I
brilliant,
will tell you
brilliant.
one story. I was working with a
Hmm.
guy who had worked for startups for like the past 25 years. He took both
Hmm.
companies to $1 billion global organizations. I'm talking about household products that are in
Hmm.
everybody's houses. The last product he had worked on, he's in supply chain. The last product he had worked on was like the it toy on every single kid's Christmas list last year.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
he was interviewing for a company, and the recruiter had told him, hey, we've been sourcing for this role, a COO role, for over a year, and no one has gotten past the board. And we got a little bit more information. And when we were doing the interview prep, we found out that this board member had started at this company on the ground floor. Well, my
Yeah.
client had started off in
Yes.
manufacturing and supply chain on the ground floor. He didn't go to
Yes.
a prestigious school. He didn't come from money. He worked his way up. His job paid for his college and then his MBA. He understood what it meant to be in the warehouse, in the factory.
Yes.
He learned 2 different languages to now be a global supply chain leader. And that is finally what sealed the deal for this board member to say, yeah, bring him in. This is the right person for this job, because he was honest about who he was and where he came from. And I think that
Yes.
staying true to yourself, and even though authentic is kind of overused right now, but truly being in alignment with who you are, where you came from, honoring the challenges that you face and the strengths that you have to bring to the table, I think is really what makes the difference on if someone's going to get hired or not.
This is absolutely amazing advice from a real professional. I'm enjoying this discussion. Thank you a million, Teegan. If you look now on LinkedIn, you almost see personal branding almost on every single page. Almost on every single page of your feed, you have somebody who is advertising for personal branding services. And frankly, when I look into what some people do, I say to myself, no, this is really, really not the right way. If you could eliminate one myth about personal branding, what would that be?
That it's a lie. There's a lot of people who do lie when personal
Mhm.
branding. They fake testimonials. They don't show up
Yes.
as themselves. They're a completely different person in the real world
Yes.
than they show up on their personal branded LinkedIn page. Now,
Correct.
I'll be the first to admit, if you go to Facebook, you're going to see a different side of me. You're going to see the dog lover. You are going to see the sports mom. You are going to see the wife that likes to, wear high heels and, go out on a date night. You're going to see some more personal things that I don't necessarily share on a professional platform.
Yes. Yes.
But me in a private coaching session with a client, I'm going to give the same exact advice that I give on LinkedIn. Me and how I show up, it's me. Sometimes like my hair might have different color highlights in it, but it's me.
Mhm.
It's not AI. It's not fake. And a lot of people will be something that they think other people want them to be, because that's how they think that they'll go viral. And I don't think that personal branding is about going viral or being fake. I think you can be your authentic self and have less than 5,000 followers and still be really successful in what it is you're doing. Because a lot of people like to be fake to go viral. They like to be extremists. They like to be polarizing, because that's what
Yes.
gets likes and clicks. But that's not what gets you hired. That's not what gets you new clients. That influencer doesn't necessarily equate to what your goals are. So I would
Yes.
say that showing up as yourself, up especially on LinkedIn, the professional side of you, but still the authentic side of you, is where I see it's like, I know that's not how you act in real life.
Yes.
Or the advice
Yes.
you give, or the way that you talk. It's okay to show up as yourself.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you very, very, very much for sharing this. If you wanted to share, as we're coming close to the end of this discussion, unfortunately, if you wanted to share one tip for people who are searching for new careers, what would that be?
I think clarity always comes first. So if you are not sure what you want to do, I think a really good place to start is there's a book called Find Your Why by Simon Sinek, and it takes
Yes.
you through figuring out what your motivator is. You can also take personality tests where it helps you, it takes you and your emotions and whatever you're going through right now out of it, and just says, okay, well, for me, for example, I'm a connector. I like to be social. So that's an important part of my next career move. So as you're going through and figuring out what comes next, start with clarity. What's your why? What motivates you? What are your values? What are your likes and dislikes? What are your non-negotiables in your next career move? I call it my perfect fit, those internal and external motivators, from job title to personality type to salary, whatever. Um, get clear on that, because as soon as you're clear on who you are and what you want for your life and your career, then you can start pursuing it. Then you can have a well-written resume. Then you can have a well-written LinkedIn profile and network strategically. Then you can start doing company research with intention. Then when you show up to interviews, you can speak in alignment to how you have what makes you the best fit for that role, because not only can you do the job, but you're also aligned with their deeper motivations. So if you're thinking about what comes next in your career, start with clarity. That would be my first tip.
Thank you. This is absolutely amazing. Okay, my final question. If you could inspire everyone to take one step forward toward their career goals today, what would that be?
um So for everybody tuning in, I did not get these questions in advance. We're talking on the fly. This is an organic conversation. I think it's a great question. I think that reality has a way of keeping us thinking small.
Yes.
And sometimes to dream bigger, we have to think of a fantasy. And
Hmm.
so one of the exercises that I like to do with coaching clients is, in an alternate world where education wasn't a factor, where money wasn't a factor, where reality wasn't a factor, how would you want your life to be? And we brainstorm. Maybe for me, I love dogs. Maybe I would want to have a doggy daycare. But no, I like dogs, but I don't want to smell like a dog every day. So
Yes.
maybe something that would be better would be this, or something that would be better than this. I mean, just total figment of your reality. Let it go everywhere and spider web it. What are options? What do you like about them? What do you don't like in an alternate reality? And then think about what it is, and then we come back grounded to reality. Think about what it is that we want for this life, for this reality. Well, the reality is I've got two kids I have to feed. I have two kids that are still in grade school that I have to be more present for. So in this phase of life, that means maybe I need a little bit more flexibility. Or maybe that
Yes.
means I need a higher paying job because I'm about to have to pay for two kids to go to college. Or maybe
Yes.
it's whatever it is. And then come back down to reality and think about, okay, well, what are my options in alignment there? Maybe it's consulting. Maybe it's, I like this industry. Maybe I like that industry. And play with it. Have fun with it, and don't think about what other people will think about you. Because when we're younger
Yes.
and we choose our career path, we're thinking about what mom and dad wanted. If we become
Yes.
they really wanted us to become engineers or lawyers or whatever high pressure expectations that they had on us. And maybe you wanted to be a chef or an artist or a musician. um, Now, when you're in the driver's seat, yeah, there's going to be real things that you have to be responsible for, but you also only have one life to live. And so you get to choose how you live it. And so from there, what are the options that give you the greatest sense of fulfillment?
Right.
It's
Right.
easiest to do this with someone
Absolutely.
else, this exercise with someone and really have fun with it and
Yes.
get silly,
Absolutely.
and then come back to reality.
Absolutely. Teegan, this was absolutely amazing. I really don't find the right words to say thank you, but thank you from the deepest point of my heart. Thank you a lot. It was really absolutely amazing. Any last words you would like to say?
Oh, no, Mark, this was awesome. I am so appreciative of the questions you asked. They're so different than so many other events that I've joined. And I think from viewers' point of view, um, some of the things that we talked a lot about a lot of topics today. And so
Yes.
for
Yes.
anyone who's tuning in, if you're in your job search or if you're not happy with where you're currently at, I encourage you to watch this on replay. Slow it down and think of the implications on how you can take action, because listening to a podcast is great, but taking action on it is what's actually going to have a difference in your life. So thank you, Mark, for having this on replay so our listeners can replay it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I wish you an excellent day. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay, now we're off the air. Thank you. It was really